Hi everyone and welcome, this is Wendy. Today a word came into my mind as it often does before I begin any of my streaming work. And the word today was melancholy. Melancholia, when we feel melancholy. And in the beautiful tarot cards there is this beautiful little card, the Six of Cups. Hope you can see that beautiful little card there. And this beautiful card speaks to us about our past links, our past history, our links into our childhood. And this beautiful card talks to us also about the feeling we sometimes have rise up within us that can really come out of absolutely nowhere, and that's that feeling of melancholy. And there are moments in our life that perhaps trigger this particular feeling because all of us have roots, a place where we were born, a place that we come from, a place that we miss. We have loved ones perhaps that have passed over to the other side, and we have real moments sometimes when we really feel very aware that the veil between ourselves and the people on the other side is very thin. And that's when we are most able to feel their loving presence with us. Perhaps it's a mother, a father, a beloved grandparent, a beloved aunt or uncle, a beloved friend, a beloved sibling. But all of the time that we have melancholy, it's an interesting thing what gives us the impact moment sometimes to bring melancholy up. And most recently I had to attend a funeral, extended family funeral. And it's interesting in those times, isn't it, when we have even weddings and funerals, how many emotions rise up to the surface during those moments. And whilst we are sharing in the loss of that mutual soul that is now passed across to the veil, through the veil home, we also are reminded of the souls that we have lost, the souls that we have missed, the places we are missing. And so this beautiful card, the card of melancholy, the beautiful Six of Cups, if you're looking to work with your tarot a little bit more, you'll understand the Six of Cups. We have these two little beautiful children in the garden and all the beautiful cups around them, indicating the symbol of emotion. And when we feel this energy of feeling melancholy, we start to look back. We start to go over through our emotional experience and through our mind. We start to look back into things that we miss, people that we miss, places that we miss. And so I have bouts of melancholy, as all my good friends know. I have real melancholy at times about missing my home in Sydney, and whilst I've lived on the west coast of Australia for many years and it's very beautiful, Sydney will always be my place, the place that I go to fill up my inner cup, to fill up my heart, to fill up my cup's vibration. And I usually have to go home a couple of times a year to really do that, because so much of my childhood, so much of my learning, so many of my friends, so much of my past experience was linked into the city of Sydney. And the minute I see the Harbour Bridge, my eyes well up with tears and I get very emotional at seeing the harbour. And I feel a great sense of relief when I go home, because for me the energy in Sydney simply feels softer and more nourishing to me. And that's how home feels for most of us, wherever our home is, wherever we herald from, wherever our previous experiences have been. Even when those previous experiences have been really challenging and really difficult, there is still a link your DNA has to home, to your place of home. As I said, melancholy can rise up for us really at any time, and we can have moments even in our lives not only where we're missing other people that may have passed or left our lives or simply are not in our lives for one reason or another. We can also have melancholy when we're missing a part of ourselves. Now, this is sometimes a bigger thing to understand. Sometimes we can be missing a part of ourselves, something that we feel somewhere along the line, quite unconsciously. We have surrendered some part of ourselves because we've adopted another part of ourselves to simply cope with life. You know, sometimes when we're very soft or sensitive, which I'm definitely one of those, when we're very soft or sensitive or empathic and sensitive to the environments around us, we're often told by the world that we have to toughen up, that we have to get stronger, that we have to build these walls around us, only to find that by the time we get to the age of 40 that none of that toughening up process is serving us, because the toughening up and the keeping the wall up and the keeping the barrier up is keeping people out, because that barrier is now in your energy field, and it's keeping people away from you, and it's also keeping you personally away from your beautiful cup, your inner cup, your heart space. And this heart space is your inner radar, and this inner radar has an intelligence far beyond the intelligence of your brain. This inner radar is your feeling seat, and this feeling seat is always the place that has the loudest voice in the end, that's trying to get your attention to pay attention to where you need to be, what you need to do, how you need to do that. And so it's always speaking to us from the emotional seat. And when we have bouts of melancholy, we can simply be missing ourselves. We can be missing some part of ourselves that we don't even really remember surrendering. And we can see this sometimes in parts of our family, in our good friends, in our close relationships, in people that we work with, people that we meet, because we are these beautiful fields of energy. And this field of energy, of course, carries all the energy that you're currently exhibiting to the world. And so people can feel when we feel tough, when we feel hard, and when we become overcritical, when we become over-examining, when we become judgmental, when we become angry, when we become anxious, when we become depressed, when we're super happy and super bright. Of course, all of those things can be felt by other people. Your words don't always match the energy that you're actually giving to people. We all know that people can tell us where, oh yeah, I'm doing really good and really everything's going really well, but you actually don't believe them, because their energy and their body language is telling you something completely different. So when we have melancholy and we're missing a part of ourselves, I find it a really helpful thing to grab a pen. I've always got a pen and several journals around me, to just take some time in my day and write down what I may be melancholy about. What is it about me that I'm suddenly feeling I have relinquished, I have surrendered, I have given a different power to myself in order to get rid of that other beautiful, deeper internal power. Sometimes we relinquish our happiness. Sometimes we live with people who are maybe high controlling, and so therefore, or they're very critical, or they're very sarcastic. And these attitudes sort of pick away at us over a long period of time, and moment by moment by moment, over those long periods of time, our joy begins to seep away, our happiness, our ability to have joy, to tell a story, to share a laugh, to be more of ourselves, or more of our brilliant, loving self, it begins to be given away. In other words, we become eroded by the outer environment and the outer influences that are incoming to our energy field. And this can go on for a very long time, a bit like water dripping on a rock. Eventually, it creates a little cavern in the rock. And so, as tough as you think you may be, and as strong as you think you may be, deep down in the spirit of yourself is still this beautiful child. And when the child came into the world, the child came in with all these beautiful gifts, all these traits of character that were natural to the spirit of that child. How often do we see our small children around us, our grandchildren, our own children that are growing into beautiful young adults, but we look into the expressions of that child. We notice great changes in our own children from when they were a child to now becoming the young adult. And we don't always like the changes we see because we can see some of their beautiful natural characteristics, their joy, their happiness, their ability to have fun has been eroded a little by life, because life around us isn't necessarily very kind. It can be very critical, it can be very tough, it can be really a place where we're not feeling a connection to ourselves or our connection to our outer environment, because we now live in a technological world, and technology itself, as you know, gives out waves of energy, and those waves of energy aren't particularly good for our body, and they're not particularly something we were ever meant to live with. And so we often get very far away from ourselves also through the environment that we live in, because when we go and take ourselves to the beach for a day, we suddenly get to the beach and the first thing we do is breathe in and exhale. And we exhale to let go of all the stuff we've been carrying prior to the moment of arriving on the beach and putting our feet in the sand, or arriving in a beautiful sacred forest and putting our feet on the earth and feeling the smell of the trees and the smell of the air around us, and breathing in the sunlight and breathing in the sky. And so all of these things take us home to the spirit of ourselves, to the deep connection we have with our environment, the universe, the earth mother, and the four elements: water, air, fire, and earth. And so those elements are part of us as well. We are made up of those components of those elements. So when we have a period of feeling melancholy, it is helpful to take yourself off to a quiet environment, preferably out in nature somewhere, and just sit. Just take some time for you and start breathing deep, really inhaling through the nose, bringing that breath all the way to the base of the lung, and then pushing it out from the base of the lung as you exhale. Start breathing in some beautiful inner vision of the sunlight entering your body, the sunlight entering your heart, the sunlight moving through your heart, pumping through your heart, pumping through your veins, filling your whole entire body. And then feel that sunlight radiate out through your body into your beautiful, magnificent aura, and just sit there for 10 or 15 minutes. And learn how to be with your breath, how to be with your silence, how to be with the sounds of nature, the sounds of the world around you, how to go more closely into the quiet with yourself, so that you're now internally visualizing on the light, feeling the light within the body, feeling the light around the body, focusing purely on that light, and simply allowing yourself in a peaceful, safe environment to visit with your innermost emotions. Sometimes this is just an area that will make you cry, because you will suddenly feel held in unconditional love. You will suddenly feel unconditional love coming in, feeding you, supporting you, replenishing your inner cup, filling up your inner cup, your inner heart space. And in those moments, you can have a good cry about the things that you feel you may have been neglecting. You may have been neglecting yourself. You may have been neglecting your true self, your true creative, beautiful, vibrationary self. You may have pushed that part of you away many, many years ago until today. You may have stopped loving and valuing all the parts of yourself. And sometimes we have real grief about that. We are allowed to grieve that. We are allowed to notice where, you know what, I think I've let some part of me disappear. And that part of me is usually the more joyous, natural, fun-loving, inquisitive, ever-learning part of myself. Sometimes I've given that away and I've put up this big, hard barrier to protect myself from these outer influences that take so much energy from me. So it's really important to give yourself time to acknowledge the past, acknowledge where you're from, acknowledge what you miss, acknowledge who you miss and why you miss them. You know, I have so many beautiful relatives on the other side, and they pop in all the time through my day, and I feel very loved and very connected. But there are moments when we just want to sit down with them in the physical world and give them a hug and be hugged by them. We want to be hugged by them. And sometimes we can't physically do that, so we have to metaphysically allow the quiet zone for us to feel their presence come in to assist us in that moment. There is a reason you're feeling melancholy. There is a reason behind your experience of feeling melancholy. And we can help that by just simply taking our journal, taking a breath, taking ourselves into the space of the environment, the Earth Mother and all the elements, and breathing and closing our eyes to the outer world and opening to the inner world, what we're feeling, what may need to rise up, what tears we may need to cry, to allow that grief to move through us and from us. And once we've done that, we always feel better. We just feel better. We feel better. And when we feel better, we can take a moment and go, okay, it's time for me to reset myself. It's time for me to get that part of me back. It's time for me to own all the parts of me again that I had given away, maybe to fit into the world differently, maybe to feel more accepted, maybe to feel more loved, maybe to just keep the peace, because often we do that as well. One of the other things I wanted to say to you that I found really helpful, because my darling mum, Betty, who's on the other side of the veil now, was a brilliant naturopath, a really brilliant naturopath and healer for at least 43 years of her life. And before she did naturopathy, she was just a naturally gifted, sighted healer. And there is a remedy you can still look into for yourselves today, because I use a lot of homeopathic remedies, and I personally love the Bach remedies, B-A-C-H, the same as the composer. And the remedy for melancholy, this beautiful feeling, is called honeysuckle. And you can find honeysuckle growing in your garden. We certainly have a lot of it in Australia, certainly in England. And honeysuckle is something, when we were kids, we used to pick the little bud and suck out the sweet remedy of honeysuckle. So we didn't even know we were treating ourselves when we were traumatized children. So honeysuckle treats the melancholy of the past, and you only need a couple of drops added to your normal Bach flower remedy of Rescue Remedy. That's a really helpful thing to do. Just one little dose, 2 drops on your tongue, with 5 drops of Rescue Remedy, and you will feel a lovely, gentle, subtle shift in that melancholy moment that you've been feeling and experience, and you may have even been experiencing it for many years and not even realized it. Another thing that I wanted to share with you that I often use before I use my beautiful tarot cards is this beautiful white sage water. Now, this particular white sage water is produced by a company called Soul Sticks, and it is absolutely, the scent of it is so subtle with white sage oil in it. You just place a couple of little drops into your hand, rub them together, place it around you. I always use it just before I pick my tarot card deck up, so that while I'm having my cards in my hand, they're also receiving the beautiful energy of the white sage water. And white sage water is a beautiful thing to keep just for yourself, whether you're using tarot or not. It's a beautiful way to reset your own energy, to cleanse your hands, breathe it in, feel it, wave it through your aura. Use it around your house. You can pop it into a bucket of water when you're mopping the floors. You can use it on your coverings and things around you, just a few drops just to place that beautiful scent around. So white sage water, I'm sure there are many different makes of it. That's a beautiful thing to add to your library to keep along with your beautiful incense or your homeopathic remedies or your beautiful oils that you might burn regularly. So this is Wendy. I hope you've enjoyed our little talk today about feeling melancholy, and you take up that journal, you take up a little bit of time to write about what you may have given up, what you may be feeling you've lost, or who you've lost, or what you've lost. Take some time to look at that, and then that will give you the opportunity to reset yourself and go, okay, this is what I need now to do for me. This is where I need to take myself, or what I need to do. Coming to you from much love today, from all the beautiful angels that are lovingly guiding me to be here with you. Love and blessings your way, and we'll talk again really soon. Bye for now.